Hello and welcome back to All for United YouTube channel. Hopefully, you're joining us on Twitter and YouTube. If you're not on YouTube for whatever reason, go and check out the link, drop a like. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're on 249 subscribers as it stands. So someone go and make our day and be the 250th follower or subscriber, should I say. I'm joined by my two previous guests. Boys, how are you doing?
All good, man. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. How are you, Rodri?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's good to have you both back on. So I was just saying to the guys before we came live, I had an absolute mare with the technology last week. So fingers crossed that goes smoothly. But of course, these things that happen with a live show. As I mentioned previously, we are live on Twitter and on YouTube also. So get your comments into the guys. We will questions. This show basically is to break down yesterday's game, what we think went right, what we think we can learn from that, and also to look ahead to the most important game of the calendar year. Sadly, it's not for the title. Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, but it's only for top four. But nevertheless, baby steps. Anyways, boys, let's talk about yesterday's game. We've got to start with the West Ham game. Let's not talk about other teams' performances. We've got to focus on ourselves. And Coach, I'll come to you first and foremost. How are you feeling? Like I said on last week's show, on Monday's show even, you've had a chance to sleep on it. Are you still a bit annoyed with the performance, or are you feeling a bit more optimistic?
Um, Still a bit annoyed just because I would have rather gotten 3 points than one at the end of the day. You want to win at the end of the day, but we are third. We are in a good position because all we need to do is get a point against Leicester. But I'm a bit cautious because in the past we've had teams not do it like last season, so I'm a bit cautious. I'm not trying to say it's done, and I also know the fact that Chelsea have a tough game as well, so I'm keeping relaxed, I'm keeping cool, and I'm not frustrated. I want to be frustrated if we don't go into the Champions League. So far,
Yeah, I think most United fans would be more than frustrated if we bottle. Well, it is going to be a bottling game, and let's be real. We're the driver's seat, metaphorically speaking. Rodri, we'll come to you. How are you feeling after yesterday's performance?
Yeah, disappointed. Yeah, we started so well as well. You didn't expect them to get an early goal. It didn't happen, but then to lose one just before half time and the way we lost it was disappointing. And we could have really probably put it to bed. But yeah, it goes to Sunday now. Bit of drama.
just about. I'm not sure I want that as a fan, but I'm sure the neutrals are absolutely buzzing with that. Just want to quick say there's 20 of you watching live, so if you can drop a like, and like I said at the start of the show, just leave any comments and we'll get them up on screen, as we have already had one from Ardisha. Good evening, guys and girls, for those of you viewing as well also. So you mentioned, Rodri, there that we started well. I think it was maybe, let's say, I don't want to be too, positive, so to speak, but with it or generous. It was maybe 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Obviously, we know Martial had that shot in the first 2 minutes, half chance, went through the player's legs, and then Greenwood had like a half chance. For his ability, you probably hope he get a better strike on it. But what do you think after that? What was the reasoning for us to just drop off? It was almost like we just dropped off a cliff. There was nothing else after that 20-minute spell, so to speak.
Yeah, it's difficult to say really because, like I said, the first 10-15 minutes they started so well, but then West Ham kind of slowly but gradually got into the game and took a 1-0 lead, and it was just disappointing. Like I say, it was in our own hands and we could have put it to bed, and it was just disappointing because we had the team we wanted to play. The only person was probably missing who was fit was Wan-Bissaka, so we're probably the team that all United fans would want to start, but they just couldn't get the job done, and just like I say, it goes to Sunday now with a bit of drama.
Coming to you, Coach, obviously we've spoken length regarding our lack of ability to start quickly from the block, so to speak. We've said it on so many occasions in the last game. Even against Bournemouth, we went down and then we had a reaction. It seemed like for once, Ollie actually must have set them out the right way. As Rodri said, I do agree with what Rodri said as well. We started off very well. But then after that period, it just seemed like, I don't want to say that we lost confidence, but it did seem like we almost gave the impetus to West Ham to actually get a foothold in the game. And for me personally, playing at playing at Old Trafford, we should never allow a team to settle in like that. It was poor for me, to be honest. How did you feel regarding that?
Yeah, it was quite disappointing to see how easily we were giving away possession. I think the passing was very, very off. That's the key thing of what we do, and they always want to get it to the two creative players in midfield. But even their passing was off also, and I feel like that sort of went throughout the whole team. Once those two couldn't make their passes, I felt like everyone else felt like they couldn't make their passes either. There was a lot of taking 5-6 touches instead of 2 or 3. There was a lot more going sideways when there was an option in front of you, or going backwards. And yeah, it just seems it could have been a lack of confidence. It could have been. I mean, last week we also spoke about when you're tired, your body can't really do much or what you want it to do. And people are speaking about fatigue also, so maybe that gets into it as well. But West Ham were made to feel very comfortable. Honestly, it felt like we were playing at the London Stadium rather than Old Trafford at some point. It was just very, very disappointing to watch.
Koja mentioned fatigue, Rodri. Do you think that actually comes into it, or do you think that's just an excuse that the players are using to get...
Sorry to interrupt. That was an excuse that West Ham have just played and they've travelled up to Manchester, and they're not complaining about fatigue. That's just they just didn't perform. It was there for them, and the players didn't perform. The Pogba we'll talk about in a bit. Should have done that. We'll go into that in a bit. But yeah, it's disappointing, especially for him to score just before half time. I know he scored 5 or 6 minutes into the first half, but if it's 0-0, I'm sure we score in the same time frame and we go 1-0 up. So yeah, it's just disappointing because, like I say, it was definitely not fatigue factor because, like I say, West Ham had played a very difficult game and they travelled up to Manchester.
Yeah, I do agree to an extent in terms of there is some form of fatigue with some players, but on the other hand, some players didn't really play much against Chelsea. The likes of the Pogbas, obviously Martial, they had cameo spells, but they didn't seem to.
What I'm trying to say is you can't compare it. Obviously, there's going to be people fatigue, but it's same for both teams.
Yeah, no, exactly. I completely agree with that. I do think that the players at this moment in time, I think there's more to it than just fatigue. The excuse of fatigue, I think it comes down to the mental side of it, the way we approach the game, certain tactical thing, and that's what I want to discuss before we talk about the Pogba incident. Obviously, as we know, it's handball, of course it is, but I want to talk about his position on the pitch. I've not seen his heat map, but if I was to guess, I would assume it was an hour and a half most of the game. In terms of, it looked like Ollie told him to sit next to Matic, and I'm not 100% sure the reason being is, especially we're at home, but it didn't look like he had any license to go past the halfway line. Of course, he did in certain moments where we were controlling the game and pegging him back, but in general, when he was playing the ball to Bruno, it was like he wasn't allowed to break the lines and run past him. You had to stay where he was, and it was almost like he was passing the ball and just watching. And I didn't like that. I don't know what you thought about that, Benji. It seemed a bit interesting. Koja, sorry, not Benji. I've done that about a million times. I do apologize.
No, I agree. So that's what I was talking about. Some people were saying fatigue, but more than before, I was talking about. For me, it's basics. Like the passing was off, even like simple short range passes. We know Pogba for a while now has been coming to drop back and collect the ball and play long passes. If he can do it, maybe drill the ball forward because he can do it. But if that was an instruction, I think Ole was worrying too much about what West Ham can do and what we can do with the ball. Because, I understand Bowen, Souček, Antonio, they're all on form, but your players are on form also. Bar the last game, they've been on form. They've scored goals. They've dominated games. And bear in mind, when we scored the goal, that's when Pogba came into the other half and started,
linking the play
up, and then he passed it on to, I think, Greenwood and Martial, who then did their thing, and we got his goal. So, take control of the game, take impetus. If that was him doing it himself, I got to call that a bit cowardly, if I'm being honest. You should need to impose the game yourself in the game a bit more when you know you can. So it was disappointing, and then his handball, which we're going to talk about, obviously, just compounded it away. It was just like, wow, you just been poor today.
Rodri, does that confuse you as well, or do you think What Cole just said at the end there, is it a confidence thing with Pogba, or do you think it's strictly a tactical thing that Ollie said, look, we've got a couple of sort of fears with West Ham going forward. In particular, Souček, I think, is probably the most notable one in terms of high, obviously, his ability in the air. Do you think Ollie looked at that and thought, no, what, we're going to play two DMs rather than playing a 4-3-3, which would get the best out of Pogba and Bruno?
But it's, with Chelsea that they press us high. West Ham didn't seem to do that. They seemed to sit in, so it was difficult to think why Pogba was seen to be so restricted, and it's difficult to answer the real. Did he do that? Or did he do that? I don't know. He's clearly probably asked to do that, but yeah, it's a confusing one because, like I say, West Ham sat in, and they've been. With the games that they've played, they've looked bright, and in the last couple of games, or the last 2-3 games, they've just been off, you would like to see Pogba higher up the pitch because he can affect. He's very comfortable on the ball. He attracts people. He can play people in. So you'd rather him higher up in the pitch. So it's a confusing one, that.
Do you think, Kojo, that comes down to potentially Ollie not trusting his back line as well? Because, you've seen in the past, again, I don't want to compare ourselves to other teams, but teams that have the confidence in the centre-backs in particular, they normally would just leave one person to sit. So, for example, in our case, it would be Matic to sit, and then they would go into a back three with the full-backs pushed further up. So it'd almost be like a 3-4-3 with Pogba and obviously Bruno a bit further up the pitch. But it seems like Ollie, well, in this game in particular, anyway, it seemed like Ollie was almost scared to do that, like to allow Pogba to go and have the license. Do you think there's any truth potentially that it's because the centre backs in particular have been on very poor form?
For me, maybe less the centre backs, but maybe more the full backs. I mean, Fossey Mercer came in, and you could see within the first 10 minutes he was struggling. And Williams was off game all the time, so we saw a lot more of Matic going to help at left back. And then only when Wan-Bissaka came on, when we didn't really see Matic or Pogba going to his side too much because defensively he's quite solid. That could have been a reason. Either way, regardless, we're the home side. You're the better side, so you need to forget about all that. You need to be focused on controlling the game. You've got players that can do that. Whether that was a tactical decision or not, it's not one that I would agree with if that's what he went for. Yeah. But if it is one that he went for, it is what it is. We still didn't defend. Well, we defended not badly, to be honest, but it totally took away from what we can do going forward, and we looked very restricted going forward.
We got a comment here from Ego. Ollie got it wrong. I do apologize for pronouncing it wrong. Ollie got it wrong from the lineup, and this is not the first time in him doing that. Rodri, what do you reckon regarding the lineup? Because, of course, like you mentioned, the only noticeable change was Wan-Bissaka for Fosu Mensah. Of course, he had to play Brandon Williams because sadly Luke Shaw is still unfit. Do you think Ollie got it wrong from the lineup, or do you think it was just a matter of fact that it was just one of those days that we're just not on it again? Is he disconnected?
I don't know.
No, I don't think he got it wrong. It's like I say, that team's been strong, but yeah, that team's been strong, and no, it's just didn't perform, and it probably shows shines a light on that we need a few more players. We're not quite there yet. We need squad players. We need players to freshen it up, and he hasn't been able to do that. And it just proves that the squad is not as strong as it should be. And a game that really we should be winning, and we're clear, and we struggled to win it. And West Ham, they could have easily won it, and really we should be running away with games like that, especially at Old Trafford with the fans or not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We definitely need to be going out against West Ham and being a bit more confident in terms of the way we move the ball forward. I thought we were very laboured, obviously, for most of the game, but the risk taking for me in particular, and we'll come to you for this, Kojo, in particular, not only with the back line, but Matic in particular. I know you've spoken about this in detail on different podcasts, but What do you reckon the issue is there? Because I feel like our ability to go from back to front, famously, has always been very quick. That's something that we've sort of been very proud of. And when we've done well under Oli, people label it as counter-attacking football. But for me personally, there's nothing wrong with being able to get the ball from your defense to your striker within a few seconds, pass the ball through the lines to your DM. He recycles it, obviously, to Pogba, Bruno, and then so forth. And it seemed like rather than taking 10 seconds from the defense as a striker, it was literally taking a minute, like every attack. And it was so easy for West Ham to just sit back and be like, no, what, if you're going to take that long with Matic, Lindelof and Maguire, do you think that's something that Ollie's instilled, or do you think that comes down to a lack of confidence from the players?
I don't know if it's even a lack of confidence or whether it's Ole doing it. What Ron was saying about them just being poor in the night, just it kind of rings bells because Matic didn't do. I can't remember him doing anything right. We're talking about moving the ball forward. Like we talk about Pogba being deep, but Matic is a player that also likes to move forward as well. Like we've seen it. He likes to go into the other half and link up play or be the other extra player, so he can play triangles in their half.
Yeah,
he was just very, very poor. And you could see bit by bit, I don't feel it was a lack of confidence. I feel it was more arrogance. I felt like he felt that he had some sort of control, but he was just very poor. And at some point, we've spoken about before, poor fouls in needless areas. So I don't think it's something that Ole would have said, because Ole is trying to get that United way back. He's trying to get the ball moving quicker than where it is. And I also think it rings bells the fact that he didn't bring anyone on from Matic because maybe he doesn't feel like anyone else can do the job better than him, which is worrying. Yeah. So, me personally, I just think he was just very awful, and he has history of doing this. And going on a good run and then suddenly losing his form again and not being very good. So, yeah, I just put it down to him just being very poor on the night, and that's it, to be honest. I'm not going to give him any excuses or any sort of help.
Yeah, you've kind of led me on nicely, and Rodri, you kind of touched upon it a bit earlier as well in terms of lack of depth. Do you think there was anything in that game that Oli could have potentially done off the bench that we could have changed it? Because I know a lot of United fans are a bit annoyed with the fact that Gala came on so late. I think he played 6 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not to single out Rashford, but I think Rashford, by his own admission, would probably say it wasn't his best of games for whatever reason. And he wasn't the only one, to be honest. But in terms of, we have got Dan James on the bench. He might offer something different. Gala, exactly the same, offer something different. Do you think Oli was a bit, I don't want to use the word skeptical, but almost like it was almost like a slap in the face of substitutes. We're not playing great, but you still can't get on the pitch. Do you think he kind of messed up in that sense? Rodri, sorry.
Oh, you can't. You can't. Can you blame the manager? I would say Igalu should have played more in the last 2 or 3 weeks, because you've seen as he struggles, he doesn't never lets down. The ball sticks with him. So maybe should have played well, but then you've got a problem of leaving Martial out and how well he's done. So it's a difficult decision, but this is the decision that Manchester United managers got to make, and it's a difficult one. But in hindsight, yeah, he probably should have, sped around a bit more. But it's okay to say in hindsight now. Last week we was flying and we was unbeaten. Now we get beat off Chelsea and we draw against Hampton. We lose and we draw against West Ham. It's been a bad.
Rodri, your connection is just cutting out again.
Put things into perspective. It's not been terrible, and you're still in our own hands.
Yeah, your connection just cutting out again. Yeah, just cutting out in and. To be fair, I caught off most of what you said. To be fair, but just so you're aware, yeah, you're right. It's still in our own hands. However, I do feel this isn't even in hindsight. I don't know what Kojo thinks, but for me personally, I thought that game was crying out for a few changes. It does almost emphasize our lack of depth. I think we all know that anyways prior to this game starting. But Kojo, what do you think? Was there anything that Oli can learn from this game moving forward? Because he's still learning on the job, and I'm a massive fan of Oli, and I will always back him. until he proves that he's not right for the job, so to speak. But what do you think he can take from this game? What would you suggest if you was to sit, if you Ollie was sat in front of you? What would you say? No, what you need to learn from this game, and this is the thing that you need to take from it.
I mean, I would say don't be afraid to make changes. You just feel someone's not making the difference. I would have taken off Matic after the 55th minute. If I'm being honest, I would have got rid of him. But at the same time, I also got to say it's not about lacking depth. We lack quality in depth. I don't think he has confidence in the players. I mean, for example, Lingard played against City in the Carling Cup second leg game when we won 1-0. He screamed at Lingard for doing something wrong. Say, if you do it again, you're coming off.
Yeah,
Lingard did it again.
He took him off as well. Yeah,
took him off, and we've hardly seen Jesse Lingard since on the pitch. You know, we've spoken about right back. If Wan-Bissaka's tired, where's Diogo Dalot? We don't see Diogo Dalot anymore. There's no confidence there. And we're seeing less of McTominay and Fred now. McTominay maybe has a bit more patience with him. He's a United lad, all that. But Fred comes on when the game's done in the hope that he can just, do a simple job and keep it like that. Or in games where we're desperate to rest players, so he's going to start games. There's a lack of confidence there. We haven't seen Daniel James. As soon as Greenwood got his start and started scoring goals, we haven't seen Daniel James either. I think there's a serious lack of confidence in overall players from the bench, apart from the first 11. And this is why we need quality signings. We need at least good signings on that we can have on the bench, even competition for De Gea, because despite all his mistakes, Romero's not seeing the pitch. So even in the cup game, when he's supposed to be our cup goalkeeper, so that for me again speaks volumes. So I would say make changes quicker and don't be afraid to make changes, but at the same time, we just lack quality in depth at the end of the day. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head, to be quite frank honest with you. In terms of the only thing that I would critique him of, well, there's a few things, but in particular, what you said as well, don't be scared to make changes. And he needs to use the squad. We're all aware, again, we're not playing for the league, but I'm just saying the famous saying, teams win your games, squad win your titles, isn't it? I'll probably butcher the saying, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But, it's true. At the end of the day, like if you don't play the likes of Fred and McTominay, even if it's a 25, 30-minute cameo, 20-minute cameo, 30-minute cameo, whatever it may be, at least they're part of the team. They feel it mentally. They think that, okay, we're part of the team. And then that's important because the next time they play, they'll obviously perform considerably better. But if you completely take them out into the wilderness and they don't play at all, which is what he's done with McTominay and Fred after the Spurs game, they're not going to have any confidence because they've not played a single minute. And it doesn't reflect positively in terms of the way he's rotated the squad. I think that's one thing he has to learn on how to improve. I agree with the Daniel James statement and the Lingard one as well that you mentioned. Lingard, I suppose a lot of United fans would probably agree with Ollie in terms of bringing him out of the team, but you do need to keep drip feeding them in because when they do need to be called upon, if they're not played at all, they're not going to be able to execute what you want from them. But yeah, we have got a few comments here. One of which you kind of alluded to an extent, obviously talking about squad depth. Again, Ego Fresh Boy. There we go. I've got his name. I found it. If we get Champions League football, I know we can get any players we want. Hopefully, we don't bottle it. Glory, glory. Manchester United, yes, completely right. In terms of Champions League, will help us get more players. I don't know if any player. I'm not sure Mbappe is coming on anytime soon, but you never know. Paul's I would play 4-3-3 v Leicester. We're going to touch upon the Leicester game after this little bit segment when I read your comments out, and then we'll look ahead to that one. But yeah, obviously we'll touch upon that and allow you to have your say on that. Again, another comment from Paul. Sancho and Grealish and Van der Beek would be a good summer transfer window for us. If we were to get them three, I think that would be fantastic in terms of options off the bench. I don't think we'd have this issue where Bruno's in a position that he knows he's not going to get substituted. Grealish can play that role. Sancho potentially can play that role as well. We've got another comment from one of our other colleagues, Uncle Estelle, absolute legend as well. So make sure you show him some love on socials. Our fate is still in our hands. I'm happy going to Leicester, having avoided a defeat. That's he's right. At the end of the day, I think I think it was Bruno tweeted actually said, "Destiny is in our own hands." You know, at the end of the day, granted, not a good performance, but they are still positives. You know, they're still positive. Hopefully, Rodri's still there. I can't physically see him. But obviously, we'll get him back in shortly. Hopefully, yeah. So in terms of the Leicester game, we've had a comment here say I would play 4-3-3 with Leicester. I don't think he'll play 4-3-3. I would have played a 4-3-3 with West Ham, but the fact that he didn't, against a better team, I can't see him being that, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but confident, ambitious, whatever the words I can think of the top of my head. Koji, I'll pass it to you. What do you reckon? How do you think he'll set up against Leicester? And also let us know in the comments, and I'll obviously put them on the screen.
I think he's going to go with the 4-3-3 again, or the 4-2-3-1, wherever he feels is best. I think Wan-Bissaka will come back into the starting out straight away. If Shaw is fit, Shaw will start. And I actually do think we're going to see Fred or McTominay instead of Matic.
Wow, okay.
Because, I feel like I'm hoping. I don't think he's going to do it, but I'm hoping that he does. I think Matic is just in poor form at the end of the day. And sorry, this is where at the end of the day, if you're in poor form, he has to be dropped. That's what it is. That's the end game.
Okay.
Greenwood will stay on. Martial will stay on, of course. And Marcus Rashford also. So, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm hoping it's a 4-3-3. And if it's a 4-3-3, considering Leicester are missing players as well. They're not
got either, if I'm not mistaken, they've not got either the fullbacks and the centre back.
Yep. So
it should be Morgan, Justin, and Fuchs, if I'm not mistaken. Unless he obviously changes Fuchs, but Justin and Morgan, I would assume they're going to play because I've got literally nobody else. Fuchs.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if they've got any youth products that could potentially play. Uncle Stel said we'll play a counter-attacking system that'll suit us. It's interesting, Rodri. How do you think we'll approach that game against Leicester? What do you think?
It's like Kojo said, and yourself, they're missing some key players at the back. So, do you sit back like Stel says and get them on the counter attack? I wouldn't fancy doing that.
It's a risky game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a risky game. I think you just got to play your natural game, which is going forward. Try and keep in possession of the ball, which will be difficult there because they've got some good ball players as well. But you've got to play your natural game. You can't play it any different because if you do, you just probably can't come up and end up stuck. So, or regretting something. Just play your natural game and try and get 3 points. If it comes out a draw, then happy days. But you just play your natural game because they're weak at the minute. With, like I say, with missing 3 of the starting back 4. So. They have got a good keeper, and they have got Johnny Evans, who's okay. He's not brilliant, but I'd get at him straight away. To be honest,
no, I completely agree with you, Rodri. I think if we do anything but play our natural game, we're going to be causing problems that we don't need to do. Especially, I don't know if you watched the Sheffield United performance against Leicester. I thought Sheffield United was surprisingly poor. They kind of played into Leicester's hand, and they tried to nullify, the way Leicester play, and Leicester just flipped it on them. And they got in their faces, they pressed very high. And this is actually one of my concerns going into this game. We've seen against Southampton, like I mentioned in the last video, they set the blueprint potentially. Chelsea executed that blueprint. And now Leicester, for me personally, from what I've seen at Bod Spurs game, they're a very good team pressing from the front. They've got a lot of energy with Barnes, Vardy, and I think Ayoze Perez probably will start. I don't think Demarai Gray will start, although he's caused a lot of problems off the bench. But Koji, does that worry you as well? Obviously we've been very susceptible to the press, and Leicester, to be fair to them, are very good at pressing as well.
It's a bit of a dodgy one because we also got to know that if we do play a bit of a high line as well, we haven't got the defenders with the pace to catch up to Jimmy Vardy, especially at centre back anyway. Centre backs won't catch up to Jimmy Vardy on a 1-on-1 situation if the ball's played over the top or through board. So it's a bit of an iffy one, but also with the press, if we're going to play against the press and try and play out, we've got to play it quick because we can't play it risky against a team like that. You know what I mean? Spurs sort of showed us how to play against them. Spurs haven't been in great form yet. They beat them 3-0, beat them comfortably. And they locked them down quite quickly, came out of the press quite quickly, and then just played ball straight up to Kane and Son just to do their damage. If we're gonna do that, we've got players like Martial and Rashford to do that damage. We've got someone like Greenwood, who is great with both feet and is in better form than like a Lucas Moura, for example, or a Steven Bergwijn. So, if you compare what we can do compared to what Spurs could do, we're also in a good position to absolutely trounce them. So it's a dodgy one, but I think he's gonna try and he'll try and play the natural style first. But if we do get pressed early and it looks like it's not working, he's gonna sit back and try and maybe get a 1 or 2-0, or just try and be happy with the draw.
Yeah, Uncle Star's commentary again. He's actually said what I was gonna say. It's like great minds think alike and all that. I was gonna say, I don't know what you guys think about this, but Bailly against Vardy in the last couple of years, Bailly is just absolutely pocketed him. I don't think he's going to be fit, and I don't think it's worth the risk. But what I'm thinking is, in terms of Vardy and the way he causes problems, of course, we know he's going to run in behind. That's his main strength, obviously. Do you think it's going to be a risk for us, Rodri, to play a high line like we normally do when we try to squeeze teams? We know what Vardy's going to do. Maguire against Vardy is a match made in heaven for a Leicester fan. Do you think that's a risk? Do you think Oli would risk it and play such a high line and potentially try to squeeze him up the pitch? Or do you think we might be a bit cautious in that sense?
Well, going back to what I said originally, is that our natural game playing a high line? It's kind of not, because we haven't got kind of the paciest of people. It's probably Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, probably the paciest. Yeah. But the central defenders aren't, they don't catch pigeons. So they're, that'd be dangerous. That'd be very dangerous. Just play your natural game if that's a high line. But I don't think we play so much of a high line at the minute because, like I say, the defenders aren't the quickest. So, yeah, but answer to your question, that would be a dangerous tactic to play. But we've just got to play a natural game, go at them and try and put them under pressure, not think about, the other end and try and score as many goals as possible and secure that Champions League spot. Because if we don't,
good.
It'd be definitely, having got there, it'd be definitely, it'd be disappointing. That'd be very disappointing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm sure most United fans would agree with that. Okay, just to finish off, from both of you, of course, I want the score prediction. We always have to. I don't think any of us got that West Ham score prediction right. To be fair, I think I said 3-0 or something. I was way too confident. Kojo, obviously to finish off, how do you want us to approach this game quickly and your score prediction to finish off with that?
Go for the jugular. If the players are tired, then you need to go and kill the game off in the first half an hour. Go and get 1 or 2 goals in there. They are very weak at the back right now, so you go and try and take the game by the scruff of the neck and just kill them off quickly. Score prediction, however, I say that, and I'm worried that it's going to be the total opposite. So I'm just going to play it safe and go for a 1-1 draw.
Wow. Can you imagine that, Rodri? 90th minute, we're 1-1, and they get a corner with Big Morgan up front. So I don't know if my heart could take it, Rodri, man. Please give me a bit more positivity than the 1-1. What do you reckon? How would you approach it? Sorry, what's his score prediction? Oh, is he cut out again?
I kind of agree with Kojo. We're cut out.
I know you're still there. It's kind of cutting out, but I'm sure we'll be able to make out his own. Yes, we can see it. 1-1. He's got 1-1 as well. Oh, no. Okay, let's get a couple of score predictions in the chat. So we've got Paul. I already put this on the screen, but Paul's gone for 2-1 to Man United. The United way has gone saying that we're going to win 2-0. I agree with what you've both said in terms of how we should approach the game, play our own game. That's the best way to, approach. I don't want us to overthink things and put pressure on ourselves because we are in the driving seat. They need to score past us in the day. What I will say is that I've not mentioned, and I will mention briefly, they're going to have Wes Morgan at the back. Honestly, I really hope Rashford and Martial and Greenwood are interchanging because he's not going to be able to deal with them with the legs he's got at the moment. In terms of their pace, their ability to run in behind. So I really hope we exploit them in that sense. But regarding honestly, it's so hard to predict the score because I genuinely don't know what team's going to turn up. But I'm gonna say it's going to be. I'm going to say 1-0 to Man United. I think it's going to be a poor game from both teams. Both teams very nervous, and we're going to hit them on the breaker. We're going to score because obviously they have to win, don't they? So we're kind of more on the counter attack. So that's my thoughts. Anyways, just want to say a massive thank you to my guests. Thank you very much for your time. As always, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As I mentioned at the start of the show, we are currently on 249. Hopefully, as we're live, that's changed to 250, but I can't physically see that. So hopefully, got a bit of positivity there. But nevertheless, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the links in the description. I believe the boys' links are there as well, unless I didn't save it. Otherwise, they're not. Then check them out on Twitter, which are in the description as well here. Apart from that, it's been your boy, Usman. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the video. Like I said last week, a bit of issues with technical things, so we're learning to get better.